Dawn peeked over the horizon on March 3, 1974, casting a golden glow on Istanbul's Yeşilköy Airport. Bustling with pre-dawn activity, the terminal buzzed with travelers embarking on their journeys. Among them were 346 passengers and 11 crew members boarding Turkish Airlines Flight TK 981, a magnificent McDonnell Douglas DC-10, its sleek lines gleaming under the morning light. The excitement of a trip to London, with a brief stopover in Paris, filled the air. Families chatted, businessmen reviewed documents, and children pressed their faces against the windows, eager for adventure. As the plane taxied down the runway, a collective sigh of relief rippled through the cabin. The powerful engines roared to life, propelling the aircraft skyward. Istanbul receded below, shrinking into a tapestry of twinkling lights. Passengers settled in, some flipping through magazines, others lost in thought, picturing their arrivals in London. Little did they know, this seemingly ordinary flight was about to take a horrifying turn. The plane taxied down the runway, engines roaring to life with a thrilling crescendo. Istanbul dwindled beneath them, transforming into a twinkling mosaic. As the aircraft reached cruising altitude, a sense of calm settled over the cabin. Passengers relaxed, some flipping through magazines, others lost in thought, picturing their London arrivals. Unbeknownst to them, a silent danger lurked beneath the plane's sleek exterior. A critical design flaw, a gremlin hiding in plain sight, resided in the cargo door latching mechanism. This seemingly minor oversight held the potential for catastrophic failure. During a routine inspection at Orly Airport in Paris, a crucial step in the latching procedure was inadvertently missed. The door, a massive metal barrier separating the pressurized cabin from the unforgiving emptiness below, remained precariously unsealed. As TK 981 soared through the clear blue sky, tragedy unfolded with horrifying rapidity. The force of air pressure at cruising altitude, usually held at bay by the secure cargo door, became an unseen assailant. Deafening roar that ripped through the aircraft's underbelly, the improperly secured door ripped open. The sudden decompression was akin to an explosion. The pressurized air within the cabin, the very breath of life for its occupants, whooshed outwards at an unimaginable speed. The consequences were immediate and devastating. The explosive decompression caused a chain reaction of catastrophic events. The cabin walls, designed to withstand normal flight pressures, buckled inwards under the immense force. Oxygen masks deployed, but the thin air at high altitude. The scream wasn't human. It tore through the cockpit, a metallic shriek that drowned out the roar of the engines. Captain Turner fought the controls, muscles straining against the sudden uselessness of the yoke. The plane, once a graceful bird, twisted violently, a mechanical bull in a rodeo gone wrong. Alarms blared, a cacophony competing with the frantic shouts of the crew. Through the cockpit window, Turner saw the horror unfold. The decompression ripped a jagged scar across the fuselage, sucking the oxygen out with the same ferocity as a monstrous vacuum. Panels ripped free, twisted metal screaming in the thin air. Passengers were thrown from their seats, their screams turning into choked gasps as the thin mountain air starved their lungs. Turner slammed his fist on the emergency oxygen button, a desperate prayer for a miracle. Even with his mask on, his vision began to tunnel, the edges sharpening into a terrifying clarity. Below, the world spun, a dizzying tapestry of green and brown that mocked his struggle. The co-pilot, his face already turning a ghastly blue, fumbled with the radio. His voice, a raspy whisper, crackled through the speakers. Mayday, mayday, loss of control. Static swallowed the rest. Outside, the control surfaces, once obedient extensions of the pilot's will, hung limp, severed by the unseen hand of disaster. The plane, a beautiful machine moments ago, was now a crippled beast hurtling towards an unforgiving earth. Turner, his own lungs screaming in protest, knew this was a fight they wouldn't win. The silence that followed the co-pilot's last words was a chilling testament to the devastation wrought by the decompression. It was a silence filled with the ghosts of unfulfilled breaths, a horrifying symphony of the human cost of a ripped sky. Panic clawed at the edges of Captain Amelia Rodriguez's vision. The cockpit alarms had erupted in a cacophony of shrieks and flashing lights just moments ago. One glance at the instruments confirmed her worst fear: a catastrophic decompression. The plane shuddered violently, bucking like a bronco in a rodeo. Oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling, and Amelia fought to get hers on, the thin mountain air already stealing the breath from her lungs. Through the splintered windshield, she saw the telltale sign: a gaping wound in the fuselage, spewing forth debris and the chilling emptiness of space. "Mayday! Mayday!" First Officer David Chen's voice crackled through the intercom, his tone a stark contrast to his usual easygoing demeanor. "Loss of control! We're breaking up!" Amelia gritted her teeth, knuckles white as she wrestled with the unresponsive yoke. The plane, once a majestic bird soaring through the clouds, now felt like a kite caught in a hurricane. Every control input was met with a sluggish resistance, a horrifying dance with a broken machine. Despite the overwhelming odds, a flicker of defiance sparked in Amelia's eyes. Years of training, countless hours spent mastering the art of flight, all converged in that moment. She fought, with every fiber of her being, barking out commands, coordinating emergency procedures with David, their voices a desperate counterpoint to the screaming metal. But the damage was too extensive. The severed flight control cables rendered their efforts a valiant, yet ultimately futile, struggle. The plane continued its erratic descent, a doomed symphony of groans and rattles. Even with oxygen masks strapped tight, Amelia felt a creeping lethargy steal over her, a chilling reminder of the precious air they were losing. A glance at David confirmed her fears. His face, usually etched with concentration, was now a mask of grim acceptance, tinged with the telltale blue of oxygen deprivation. With a heavy heart, Amelia knew their fight was nearing its end. They had done everything they could, pushed the limits of their skills and their aircraft, but the sky had claimed victory. As the ground rushed closer, an exhausted silence descended upon the cockpit. The heroics of the pilots were a silent story, a testament to their unwavering courage in the face of an inevitable defeat. Their sacrifice, a desperate attempt to regain control, would be forever etched in the chilling silence that followed. The silence over Ermenonville Forest wasn't just the absence of sound. It was a void filled with the weight of what had been lost and the promise of what would never be. Flight 347's fiery demise wasn't just a tragedy, it was a catalyst for a seismic shift in aviation safety. The investigation, fueled by a burning need to prevent such a catastrophe from ever happening again, revealed a chilling truth. A seemingly minor design flaw in the cargo door latch had become a gaping maw, swallowing the plane whole. In its wake, a revolution in aircraft design and maintenance procedures unfolded. Cargo door latches, once a matter of routine design, became the subject of rigorous scrutiny. New standards were implemented, redundancies built in, and inspections intensified. Every plane that took to the skies bore the invisible fingerprint of Flight 347. Procedures were tightened, checklists lengthened, and the meticulous eye of safety became paramount. For Turkish Airlines, the crash was a devastating blow. The national carrier, once a symbol of progress, became synonymous with tragedy. The airline embarked on a relentless pursuit of regaining public trust. Transparency became their watchword, safety their obsession. Every pilot, every crew member, became an ambassador for a new era in Turkish aviation. The legacy of Flight 347 wasn't just a monument of loss, but a testament to resilience. It was a stark reminder that even the most meticulously crafted machines could fail, but human ingenuity, fueled by tragedy, could learn, adapt, and ultimately prevent future skies from weeping the same tears. The silence over Ermenonville Forest, once heavy with grief, became a quiet promise. A promise that the lessons learned from Flight 347 would forever echo in the roar of every departing jet engine. The serene Ermenonville Forest in France holds a haunting silence, a stark contrast to the roar of the once proud Turkish Airlines Flight 347 that met its fiery demise there. The tragedy, etched forever in aviation history, claimed all 346 souls on board, becoming the deadliest single aircraft accident at the time. Beyond the immediate loss, Flight 347 cast a long shadow, prompting a critical reevaluation of aviation safety practices. Investigators meticulously pieced together the events, uncovering a design flaw in the DC-10 cargo door latch, a seemingly minor detail that became a gaping maw, swallowing the plane whole. The crash became a pivotal point for aviation safety. Stringent new standards for cargo door latches were implemented, with redundancies built in and inspections intensified. Every aircraft design and maintenance procedure were scrutinized with renewed vigilance. Flight 347's legacy became one of meticulous safety protocols, ensuring that the roar of every departing jet carries within it the lessons learned from tragedy. For Turkish Airlines, the crash was a devastating blow. The national carrier, once a symbol of progress, became synonymous with the disaster. However, they rose from the ashes with a relentless pursuit of regaining public trust. Transparency became their watchword, safety their obsession. Every pilot and crew member became an ambassador for a new era in Turkish aviation. The statistics paint a grim picture, but behind the numbers lie countless personal stories. Imagine Sarah, a young flight attendant, her dreams of faraway lands extinguished in an instant. Or Mehmet, a businessman carrying the hopes of his family on his shoulders, never to return. Each life lost on Flight 347 leaves a permanent void, a story forever silenced. The crash triggered a cascade of lawsuits, with families seeking compensation for their losses. The manufacturer of the aircraft, McDonnell Douglas, faced intense scrutiny and ultimately settled with the victims' families. The legal battle, though providing some measure of financial solace, couldn't erase the profound grief. The silence over Ermenonville Forest isn't just an absence of sound. It's a profound respect for the lives lost. But it's also a promise that future skies will be safer, a promise echoed in the roar of every departing airplane. Flight 347 may be a chilling reminder of human fallibility, but it's also a testament to the unwavering pursuit of safety that continues to evolve with every passing flight. In the aftermath of Flight 347's tragic crash, the stories of those who missed the flight would take on a strange significance. Here are a few examples. The overly cautious traveler. David, a businessman scheduled to be on Flight 347, woke up that morning with a nagging feeling of unease. He couldn't explain it, but something just didn't feel right. Against his usual routine, he rebooked his flight for the next day, a decision that would later haunt him with a mix of relief and survivor's guilt. The missed connection. A young couple, Sarah and Michael, were supposed to be on the flight together. Sarah, running late due to a car accident, arrived at the gate just as the doors were closing. Devastated, she could only watch helplessly as the plane disappeared into the sky, forever separated from Michael, who had boarded on time. The last-minute change. A group of colleagues on a business trip were originally booked on Flight 347. However, due to a scheduling conflict with an important meeting, they were forced to rebook on a later flight. The news of the crash left them shaken, a stark reminder of the fragility of life, the missed opportunity. A grandmother, due to a sudden illness, couldn't make it to the airport to see her granddaughter off on Flight 347. The planned visit, meant to create lasting memories, was tragically stolen away. The grandmother would forever grapple with the what-ifs and the missed chance to say goodbye. These are just a few examples. The stories of those who missed Flight 347, while overshadowed by the immense loss of life on board, became testaments to the randomness of fate and the power of seemingly insignificant events. They served as a poignant reminder that even in the face of tragedy, moments of happenstance can have a profound impact on the course of our lives. The Ermenonville Forest in France used to be a peaceful place, filled with the sounds of nature. Now, an eerie quiet hang heavy in the air. This is where Turkish Airlines Flight 347 crashed, taking the lives of everyone on board, 346 people in all. It was the worst plane crash ever at the time, a tragedy that no one will ever forget. crash of Flight 347 wasn't just said, it also made everyone in the airplane business realize they needed to do better. Investigators looked at the wreckage very carefully and found a small mistake in the design of the plane's cargo door. This tiny problem turned into a big disaster. It showed that even the most amazing machines can have flaws, and those flaws can have deadly consequences. Because of Flight 347, airplane safety got a big overhaul. New and stricter rules were put in place to make sure cargo doors are extra strong and checked very often. Every single part of every airplane is now looked at even harder to find any other problems that could cause a crash. This is all thanks to Flight 347, even though the crash itself was a horrible event. It's a sad reminder that bad things can happen, but it's also a hopeful one. Because of this tragedy, airplanes are now safer for everyone who flies.